Ladies and gentlemen, welcome in to another episode of 410 Sports Talk. We are live. I'm James Haskell, along with my co-host Glenn Martin, and as always, DK running the sticks in the background. We are excited tonight to join you guys, talk about all things Ravens, Ravens news, Ravens draft. Have our buddy Jason Pruitt from Draftplex hop on the show, and an information and action-packed show tonight, Glenn. How you been, man?
I've been good. I mean, what are we, 9 days out?
Yeah,
8 days?
something like that.
It's the 28th,
We're down to hours
right?
now. Single digits. That's all I know. It's freaking
I mean,
me out.
It came faster this year than it seemed like in years past, especially after they moved it back in the calendar. I'm excited though. I mean, this is one of the most highly anticipated drafts I can remember in a long time. And yeah, excited to talk about it, and of course, excited to get some critique from Draftplex, but also, we got some stuff. I pulled up his most recent mock draft, and I got some stuff on his mock that I kind of want to put him over the coals about a little bit here and talk about, because he made some interesting picks for the Ravens, and this is a guy who is extremely accurate when it comes to mock drafts and kind of predicting who will be selected overall in this draft. So, man, this would be an interesting draft if it ends up being the way he's predicting.
Yeah, definitely. There are some wild cards in there, so we'll reveal those to you guys. And like you said, Glenn, hold his feet to the fire a little bit. Hold him responsible for those potentially blasphemous picks.
Yes.
But where I want to start is with the Ravens news of Glenn Martin, my buddy Glenn. His favorite Raven was officially released from the Baltimore Ravens. And that is one Miles Boykin. Glenn, how you feel, man? You feeling good? You feeling relieved? You feeling sad?
I'm worried. I mean, look, you can't just go out and replace that kind of downfield blocking anywhere, okay? That downfield blocking that is something only coaches dream to see, running down the side.
God.
And making a way for Lamar.
Can you guys feel the sarcasm just seeping through the screen right now?
Look, I mean, it should come as no surprise. We talked about this when we did a video mentioning some moves the Ravens could make to create some additional cap space. And this seems like, to be, the perfect option. I mean, this is a guy who wasn't getting a lot of clock outside of special teams. And let's be honest, you can always find a cheaper special teams option. And it's likely going to be in the draft this year because every pick, has to play special teams, especially if you're on the back end of that draft. So no surprise on my end. Happy to see them more willing to part with recent draft picks when they're completely unproductive and don't really seem to fit the team. So excited to see that, and let's see what they can do with that additional cap space. Now, Jimmy, what I found most interesting,
$2.5 million in cap space, right? That's what we created.
$2.5 million, which things were pretty tight after some of the recent signings. So they needed to do something, and the word was they were trying to find a trade partner. Didn't find one, but
yeah,
he wasn't a free agent long, Jimbo.
You can laud my what is it? You can give me a little.
You had a pretty accurate prediction.
Pretty accurate. Does it get any more accurate than that?
No, it didn't. I just don't know if you were being genuine or was
absolutely.
Okay, 100%. I didn't know if this was like, the Jets will get him.
No. So I for sure knew Miles Boykin was going to the Steelers. Let me tell you why.
Okay.
One, his buddy Claypool is there, right? A lot of people made that comparison between the two, right? And so see, the success Claypool has had. Right, same school, similar build, similar like athletic aesthetic aesthetic in that like they struggle with the same things but have the same skills as well, the straight line speed and stuff like that. Yeah, I had no doubt that he was going to the Steelers. No surprise here. So, I just dug into my
Any concern?
Well, no, but I do think that he will have next year. I think he will have the best year of his career. However, that's not saying much. This is the thing. You said it off air. I think if Ben was still there, as much as like Ben had a limp arm, right? Claypool just runs go routes, dude, or he gets like those little jet sweeps and stuff like that. So I could see them telling Boykin, dude, you're huge. Just run fast, and we'll throw the ball to you like 8 times a game.
And then he'll low point it.
Yeah, right. And he'll get intercepted. But with Trubisky there, I'm not concerned. I mean, even if it was Ben, but I think he would have a better year. I still wouldn't be concerned. But yeah, he's not going to tear up the Ravens.
No. Look, I should get on here and go, happy for Boykin. Hope he finds success elsewhere. But no, I'm not rooting for him to have success in a Steelers uniform. Maybe if he went to the NFC, I might have, been like, wow, I hope the guy no, I hope he does horrible because now he's a Steeler. Nothing against him personally, but now he's a Steeler, so I will be rooting against him. And let's be honest, I'm not afraid of him, waiting for the ball to come down and hit his belly button before he decides to catch it on a deep ball because, that's all we saw here in Baltimore. So, yeah, I guess, good luck to him in a sense. I hope he, enjoys his time in Pittsburgh. I hope he has zero success when it comes to his games against Baltimore, of course. But, other than that, I don't think he's a guy that's really going to be missed. But I will say that this does, in combination with the fact that Sammy Watkins is now a Green Bay Packer, it does kind of, it leaves it's a bunch of youth in that receiving room, Jimbo. I mean, I look around and I think the oldest guy now in the room is Marquise Brown. Is that too young to be your leading? Like, is that do you need a more veteran presence in a position group as large as wide receiver?
So I'm I'm trying to recall when the Steelers had all those dogs in the locker room, right? Like San Antonio Holmes, right? Am I saying that right?
I think it's just San Antonio.
San Antonio, yeah.
San Antonio, Texas.
Antonio Brown, Mike Wallace. I'm probably missing a name, but like it kind of reminds me of that group, right? Where like there's a lot of guys that are mid-round, low round, high round picks all over the draft, but guys with a lot of potential, with a lot to prove, and pushing each other. So I'm not too concerned about the age. I think that there you go, Hines. I think the era I'm thinking about, though, Hines Ward was already out the door, right? Either way, point being, when that was a group of young guys, I think that they really pushed each other. They were all hungry. They all wanted their contracts, this, that, and the other. And so I think that it could be a similar situation. I'm not crazy. Yeah, Emmanuel Sanders.
Yeah,
there you go.
One.
Yeah, so right now, I'm not concerned about the fact that we're going to be young there. They know each other. They've worked together for a while. And obviously we have the ultimate blanket in Mark Andrews if they can't get the job done. So I'm not crazy concerned. Are you? Do you think a veteran, like you have to go with the old adage, you got to have a veteran in the locker room type thing?
It's weird because last year I definitely felt that they needed to, but and it's not like Rashad Bateman is a veteran, but it just seems like they've done enough over the last few years. We've given some of the young guys enough time that I think it's just time to run with the young guys. I mean, you got Marquise, you got Rashad Bateman, Devin Duvernay, James Prochet, and then, Tylan Wallace. I think there's a lot of excitement behind him, even though he's a more recent draft pick and didn't see a ton of time. And then Benjamin Victor is the guy that I think has got a lot of people excited for the potential jump ball threat that he can bring. Because outside of Rashad Bateman playing bigger than he is, they are missing that big body guy. And they hope that Benjamin Victor can be the guy. So I'm excited about the group. And yeah, I want to see what they got. Let's let the young guys play. Let's not have any more roadblocks or speed bumps in front of these young guys, keeping them on the sideline. Let's see what they got. If it's kind of a boom or bust year for a few of these guys. Now, Devin Duvernay has established himself as such a fantastic return man. He'll likely always have a job until those skills erode, but let's see what he's got as more than that, as an offensive threat, as more of a Deebo Samuel type guy. And it's clear that the Ravens, at least if you follow the rumors and reports, that they're looking for a Deebo Samuel type guy, because apparently they took their shot at getting Deebo himself from the Niners before, being shot down by the Niners. So I think they can run with these guys. But let me ask you this, Jimbo: does the fact that they kind of poked and prodded at what it would cost to get Deebo out of San Fran, does that make you think that they may think that they need some help there?
That's a really interesting point, and that's of course the second report we've heard. Right, because DK Metcalf was another one, and that one ran rampant on Twitter for a long time. So that's a great point you bring up. It to me, it is an indicator. Fool me once, shame on what? How does it go?
Shame on
fool
you.
Me twice, you can't fool me again. Did you see what I did with that one? See what I did with that?
That was so bad. That was so bad.
You understand the saying, right? So Now that it's been 2 times, I would say it is for certain that if it is the right move, I don't think they're looking for a veteran. I think they're looking for a bona fide playmaker. So we don't need another Sammy Watkins, right? We don't need
more retread. No
right,
Julio Jones.
Willie Snead. We don't need Julio Jones. No. But
Antonio.
Yeah, none of that. No July Jones. Thank you very much.
Okay. Because there's some names out there still. I mean, Emmanuel Sanders himself, we just talked about him. He's out there. Jarvis Landry, Will Fuller.
But wouldn't you see Jarvis as like I don't know, is Jarvis in your mind a bona fide playmaker?
Jarvis he's not fit checking the box that we need checked at this point. We got guys.
And we got a lot of guys that do what he does.
Right.
He might be better at it, but there's a lot of similarities.
I think what you'd out of the guys that are available in free agency right now, I think the only guys that you think could check that box would likely, and this is such a big is if Julio Jones can return to.
Wait, did you see DK's comment here?
I did see Odell Beckham.
I like how Glenn just glazed over it.
Well, I mean, I just don't think they would want the headache that it comes with that. You just don't have to worry about that with some of these other guys. What about finally kicking the tires on Julio? No? Okay.
No, please don't.
Okay. All right. Just asking.
I just don't know why you I mean, I don't know. I just don't know why you do it. He's unavailable. That's the thing. It's not even the lack of production. It's the lack of availability.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't want a guy who's going to be sitting on the trainer
and expensive.
table.
He's not going to come cheap.
Yeah, who knows what his market is right now, though. Oof, it can't be great. So, okay, all right. Well, I just wanted to kind of get your feelings on the wide receiver position since it's.
But are there any guys in the draft that you like, Glenn? I know everyone is writing off the idea at going at 14, getting a wide receiver, but like they're out there testing the market from a trade perspective.
Yeah.
Is there anyone there that you believe could be available at 14 that's like a bona fide dude, right? Like,
well, a guy that would check. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think the guy that would check the box of the type of thing we're looking for is a guy like Drake London. He's 6'4", he's 220. And he is, I've heard some people describe that his contested catch ability is the best that they've seen in the last decade. Now, does that mean that he doesn't get enough separation? That, that's what a lot of people kind of point that to. But to me, he would be perfect. He's such a big physical guy. Yes, he doesn't have the burners, but I mean, he's 6'4", 220 and can high point a ball like nobody else in the league. So I think he'd be perfect. Now the question is he there? Some mocks have him available at 14, some don't. But he would be the type of guy, because all the other guys that are mentioned at the top, they're kind of redundancies here of either what guys we already have can do or what guys we have should be able to do and were drafted to do when the Ravens picked him up, and they just are waiting for their opportunity. But like DK has up on the boards here, you can see, I mean, the guy is a contested catch and yak, as far as being able to break tackles and shed potential DBs trying to cut him down. He's fantastic. And another thing I know you like seeing, Jimbo, he's a two-sport athlete. I mean, he averaged almost 30 points a game and 12 rebounds in basketball as an All-American in high school. So,
well, then that's where he gets the natural ability to go high point the ball, right?
No doubt.
Like he's like, Dennis Rodman, click here, go there, click there, go there type thing.
Exactly.
He's got the instincts, man. I like that. I like that pick. It's going to be interesting. Is there any way that the top two guys are there at 14? So you got, the ones that everyone's talking about. Let's see here.
Well, Garrett Wilson's the big one from Ohio State, right?
Yeah, Wilson and Jamison Williams. Like outside of Drake London, is there any way those two guys are there?
I think Jamison Williams has a shot because of his injury. I mean, he tore his ACL in the national championship game. But a lot of people say, had he not, he'd be the first overall pick. I mean, the first wide receiver, I should say, picked in this draft. So,
and he's a Bama guy.
He's a Bama guy, but I will say he's more of a burner. I mean, this is a track star who holds the state record for the 300-meter hurdles.
You let him sit on ice, and then you don't pay Hollywood? Or am I just starting rumors over here?
No, I think that's a great point. This is the guy you would take if you have doubts on whether or not you can bring Hollywood back, because if we look at all those receivers in his draft class, Jimbo, look at what Debo's doing, scrubbing his social media of 49ers stuff because he wants a bigger contract. A.J. Brown is now in a Twitter thing talking about, oh, now I'm a diva. You do what you got to do. I'll do what I got to do. So he's in a bit of a Twitter thing. DK Metcalf, rumors to be getting traded. Terry McLaurin, they're not sure if they can hang on to him. All these guys were taken in the same draft class as Marquise Brown. So if all those guys are having contract issues and potentially having rifts with their team, we got to read into the fact that Marquise Brown hasn't been seen in any highlights or workout tapes, I should say, with Lamar Jackson. And he also removed all Ravens stuff from his social media. So, yeah, I think Jameson Williams could be the replacement. But, Jimbo, can you honestly imagine a scenario where the Ravens take a wide receiver for 3 of the 4 years in the first round?
Eric, I mean, he's got a pattern, right? Like, he said he's going to keep swinging. And, Glenn, we have heard little to nothing. I mean, we've heard more about, this is factual, ladies and gentlemen, we've heard more about quarterbacks than we have about wide receivers, at least at the Liars Luncheon, unless I totally missed something. But
no, not a lot of talk. Yeah. No questions we're asking, fairness, though.
Right. But that also, all I'm saying is that even a small question can allow someone the opportunity to elaborate, right? And it also could mean, look, the same argument was used against me when I talked about them, talking about quarterbacks. People could say, well, then they're going to talk about wide receivers to push these guys up, right? To push the players we want down. None of that is happening.
Maybe that's the secret. Oh, my goodness.
Dude, I'm starting to think, man, if one of these guys are there that is a player and they love, I'm just saying.
Yeah, I mean, it would be surprising in that you take a receiver in the first round 3 out of 4 years. That part would be surprising,
big time.
but
huge surprise.
But it's a new day and age in the league, and a lot of people say you need at least 3 threats at receiver. I mean, do you know for sure we have 3 right now? I mean, I think we like Duvernay, we like Prochet, we like Tylan Wallace, but do we know if they're guys that would necessarily keep a defensive coordinator up at night? I mean, I'm not so sure about that, but we do have 3 threats when it comes to pass catchers, and I think we feel confident with Bateman, Marquise, and then Mark Andrews.
Yeah, and then you had JK coming back. You had even Gus coming back. I mean, things like that, and you start to get, a little deeper in the variation of guys we have to throw the ball to. So certainly, there's some definitely some guys to dish the ball out to. Lamar will have no problem doing that. And don't forget, guys, in 2019, he had Marquise Brown and a bag of chips to throw the ball to. Marquise Brown, Mark Andrews, and a bag of chips.
Yes, pretty much.
Like some Utz, not even like the crab, not even like the
good ones.
Yeah, no, just traditional, like
just the basic of basic.
Yeah, just salted with some oil.
Yeah, well. So if they don't go wide, I don't think either of us are predicting wide receiver, right? I mean, are we?
Not right now. Now we have the right to change our minds.
Oh, of course, but I think we're still trying to come up with some way a wager of sorts between me and you.
Yes.
So yeah, if you guys have any ideas, definitely throw them in the chat because we need to know. We need to have something on the line here because I think Jimmy is pretty stuck on one guy at 14, whereas I'm more fluid. So I think I'm gonna win because I don't know about old Devin Lloyd here, Jimbo Slimbo, who I know you are pretty sure on in that first round. But Jimbo, I want to ask you something here because a lot of what the Ravens end up going with depends on, obviously who's picked ahead of the Ravens when they decide to pick. So we talked about it before. I know you were kind of joking when you brought up the fact that the quarterback position was brought up by Joe Ortiz and kind of laughed about what, if this is a bit of a backup plan or whatever you were insinuating. I don't know. Blasphemy is what I call it.
Sure.
But when do you see, because the quarterbacks, some are saying, no, they're 20 and up. They're low 20s type value, and no team is going higher than that. But then I got other guys saying, are you crazy? You think these GMs are going to be able to sit on their hands until 2022 to pick? So when are these quarterbacks going to start flying off this board, Jimbo?
Yeah, that's a great question. But so I'll give you some specifics, but I will say this. Coach Saban said it best. What is the best indicator of future behavior?
History.
That's right. That's best indicator of how people will act in the future is how they've acted in the past. So, Mitchell Trubisky. Like, that's all I got to say. Like, think about all the people he was drafted over. Like, a Jordan Love. Now, I know he was a later first round, but he's a first rounder. From what I hear, he can't hit water. He falls out of a dang boat. Like, dude, I could have put out a good highlight tape. And if I just had the metrics, somebody's going to like me enough. And if you could talk the talk, you could push right up the board. So I think that Malik and Pickett, I think they both go in the top 20. Before 20, they're both gone.
Okay.
I feel really confident about that. And I also think that Malik is a top 10.
And they might not even been the first quarterback taken.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people saying that Ritter is the most complete and game. He's a 5th-year guy, I believe. And then a lot of people like Sam Howell and Matt Corral. I saw I think it was Matt Corral linked to the Steelers. So yeah, there's a lot that could happen. But I'm excited to announce our next guest, Jimbo, because I saw that the latest mock draft has come out. And I got some big questions for Mr. Jason Pruitt over at Draftplex when I'm looking at this, because he's got some picks. I mean, he jumped out there a little bit. So let's welcome back to the program our friend Jason Pruitt. How you doing tonight, Jason?
I'm good. I was expecting a little bit of feedback since I actually got some Ravens picks in there with the 7-round mock. So let's have at it.
Yeah, let's jump right into it because. Okay, go ahead, Jimbo. You got something?
All right. No, I was going to say that's totally fine. We can get right into his, but I also want to do some grading of our – Jason, you'll be the judge like last year of our – we did a 3-round pick, 3-round mock.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
I'm
definitely.
interested to get your take there. But yeah, Glenn, let's
go.
Look, Jason, pick your feet up. We're going to put them right to the fire, okay?
Yes.
And let's get after it, just like the team bonding activity in the office where you have to walk on the hot coals. And Dwight scolds his whole body.
This is our trust exercise, so I'm gonna fall back, and we'll see if you guys catch me based on these
make sure you don't fall make sure you don't fall the wrong direction. Okay.
Yeah, I've seen those videos quite often. Now, I got to ask you about a couple of these guys. Of course, we're gonna start with your first pick.
I hate it. I can't even wait, Jason. I hate it. I hate it.
Some people are saying that. Okay, so let's just reveal it is George Karlaftis of Purdue, the edge player out of Purdue. And some are calling him the next Courtney Upshaw, which doesn't get a lot of excitement here in Baltimore because we saw enough of Courtney Upshaw while he was here.
You talk about a deflated tire.
Come on.
My gosh.
Man. But at the same time, Jimbo, he's an Iron Man, right? He never misses snaps.
And describing Miles Boykin.
And he had a hell of a pass rush grade last year, although some people say it's like bull rush and he's not going to be able to get it. So, Jason, why did you decide that George Karlaftis was the guy at 14 for the Ravens?
Well, we talked about pass rusher, and I know you want to go the Courtney Upshaw side. Can I interest you in maybe having a Ryan Kerrigan type? Because I think that's the other comp that's been drawn. I think with Karlaftis, opposite Odafe Owe, that's a pretty good match. I mean, because Karlaftis is stout against the run. What he needs to do is he needs to get home on his pass rush, and that's where he's kind of come up a little bit short. But if you'll recall, Owe coming out, Penn State had 0 sacks his draft year. You look at what a guy has. He's relentless. He's got the motor that you like, nonstop. And playing on that, basically more like a strong side pass rusher. I think that's what you want. You defend against the run, get your pass rush when it's there. But, my difficulty is you lost all the other pass rushers ahead of him, right?
Yeah.
So obviously you lose Hutchinson, you lose Trayvon Walker, you lose Thibodeau. In this particular scenario, Jermaine Johnson went as well. I think there's a possibility he's there. I mean, that's who I gave the Ravens in my 1.0 mock, which was just the first round. But going through the 7 round, I went a little out there with a few of these picks that that may not have lined up. But again, it's just presenting a scenario. Like with the 7th round especially, it's just kind of like looking at fits and getting a hold of things because, I haven't done the final first round mock yet. I've got some ideas in my head, but at this time, I think Karlaftis would make sense. I just think it's a tough guy, right? That would fit on that opposite side, and the drop off is in terms of like your kind of day one production, your day one expectations is going to fall off once you get past these first round guys. Not to say that there's not good players, like I mentioned as we've talked through these before, Boye Mafe, Arnold Ebiketie, David Ajabo in a year would be a great pick, but you're not going to pick him at 14. Right. Especially with what the talent that this draft has, kind of getting into the 2nd, 3rd round range. I think he would be a good fit in the 2nd round. But if you take care of that in the 1st round, you don't have to worry about that. You can address another position.
So I guess my question is, you talked about him getting home, and the thing about Owe that made a lot of people, not me, and I was wrong. Like I was wrong, but that made a lot of people feel better was that he had the apparent like get off, right? He ran what, a 4.3 last year.
So crazy.
Odafe Owe did. Does Georgie Boy have the get off? Like, can he? Does he have explosion? Right?
Yeah, he's not going to be a speed rusher if that's the question you're asking. Like he's more of a power based. Like I'm gonna get to you any way that I can, and I think that's where his strength is. And if you've got a burner on the other side that might just drive him right into Karlaftis, I mean that helps too. So I mean if you book in the 2, I think that's a good 1-2 combo there on the edge.
Gotcha.
Okay, yeah, and I noticed that you decided to even with the 2 big guys from Georgia on the board, you still went here. Was that just based on the need that you saw from the Ravens?
Yeah, I think it boils down to is where do you get your pass rusher? I think, and you'll see in the 2nd pick, there's a little bit more of a stretch into the 2nd round. I don't know that the defensive tackles, there's that much of a gap between what you think from a day one player in the 1st round, because like I said, with like Mafe, with Ebiketie, after that, then you're getting into developmental guys. I mean, those 2 guys are, a couple that are going to need some more seasoning, but you need that impact pass rusher on the other side. And like I said, like, Karlaftis has some deficiencies in terms of that, like the sack protection wasn't great, but you hope you continue to develop. Cause I mean, the one thing you're going to have is a guy that's just coming to work, right? So you don't have to worry about any of that. I mean, I think the story they kept telling during the combine is he like got his apartment right next to the Purdue facility, so he could just be there every day. So you get a guy that
they love that kind of thing.
Yeah, he's got the football character that you want, and while he's not top shelf physically, I mean, I think the floor is really high with him. So I mean, you can get a good player that you can have, like I said, on the opposite side. The 2 of them working together, I think you can do a lot of good with that.
Yeah, and I like what you did in the 2nd round. You went and got Fedora. Man, I'm gonna say his name wrong. Let me try it again. Yeah, Fedarian. Is it Fedarian?
Are you about to say Fedora?
I think I was gonna say Fedorian, but yeah, I like what you got with Fedarian Mathis because it looks like he's gonna be able to provide some of that that pass rush and that interior push that we were hoping to get from Jordan Davis or Wyatt.
Yeah, and I think that's where the value is with him in the 2nd round. I think you get a little bit of a discount than you would in having to take Jordan Davis there, because I think Jordan Davis is still a projection. You look at what he did in college. He was just the big proverbial trash can full of dirt in the middle. You see flashes of him getting out of the pocket, or chasing player out of the quarterback out of the pocket, chasing down runs each side, but like a handful of times over the year. And they're just projecting based on the combine performance that, oh, well, now you can turn him to a pass rusher, but he still comes with questions too. You look at the conditioning, you hope that's where it needs to be. If it wasn't just let's train for the combine, let's train for the draft season to hope that carries through. And he becomes more of a dominant player in the league with in terms of pass rush as well as the run stopping ability. I just don't think you're going to get, you'd probably have to take Devontae Wyatt at 14 as well. I don't know, that I would necessarily do that. I think he could go in the teens, but you just have to look at what you value more. After that, you've got Travis Jones, who I think is, I think a lot of people think that if Jordan Davis hadn't did what he had done at the combine, a lot of people would be talking about Travis Jones a little more, but I see him more of that kind of late first round, early second round. Not to say he couldn't be there when the Ravens come and pick, but I think Fedarian Mathis is a little bit more of a realistic option there. And like you said, like he was kind of that interior pass rush for Alabama this past year. He hasn't got as much attention, like I said, because he's kind of under the radar a little bit. But coming to the Senior Bowl, a lot of good things coming out of that for him. I think he probably, I don't know that all the combine performances off the top of my head. We just assumed that everybody did great except for the people that you heard did horrible. So I assumed that he did just fine there, and I think he settled right into that second round range. And yeah, he would bring the pass rush. So if you're getting that production from every kind of level across the defense, we always talk about the 3 levels, but if you get both ends, you get some interior pass rush. I mean, you're in good shape.
Yeah. Now I gotta ask you about the big one. I'm gonna skip over
That's so
the third round pick. I gotta talk fourth round pick because this was it's interesting that you put this out there because I've recently heard the idea floated that the way the Ravens could get some additional cap space if it was 100% necessary and needed is by cutting the longest tenured Raven, a Raven that has spent a lot of time here in Baltimore, and that is punter Sam Cook, who is, he's 40 years of age in this season, and you got him taking a punter out of San Diego State. Is this in the 4th round, Jason? He must be able to kick it to the damn moon.
I'll raise you one better. It's a 3rd round comp.
Oh my! It is the end of the 3rd. Oh my goodness!
So right at 100, Matt Ariza, punter from San Diego State. I think his nickname is the Punt God, and he'll knock it about 80 yards for you. Now, if I hadn't read the punters, who say his name again, so I don't want to mispronounce it. Sam Cook. Yeah. If I hadn't read that, hey, he could be on the block, I may have thought different because I was like looking at. As I've gone through this, the specialist thing is hard, right? Because I don't really study them. I kind of get the list that goes to Senior Bowl, the other handful of guys that maybe come along with it for the combine. But, he's an interesting case but I think that's going to be his range is like that 3rd round comp territory is kind of where he's looking to go. He'll boom it for you. He kicks as well, which is good. But my thought was, this could be a possibility for, the Ravens. They're a little bit ahead of the curve. They also have the best kicker in the NFL, possibly NFL history. Why not have the best punter right out of the gate? And then you don't have to worry about either one of those positions. Not to say that Sam Cook is done for, but I mean, you never know. The cap space, that always kind of weighs heavily on it. The age, you got an opportunity to get him. If it's not Matt Ariza, I'm not sitting there telling him to take another punter in the 3rd round at pick 100 as it was. But, again, you're throwing out possibilities. As I go through, I look at each of these teams and look at who might need a punter, could draft him that high. I thought about Miami because I think they're doing some interesting things, but they've only got 3 draft picks, right now. So I was like, Baltimore maybe could afford it. Those comp picks, they're always just a bonus. Like get something that you can. If it's like the discount special on an injured guy, you could do that as well.
And didn't we get Sam Cook on a comp back in the day, Glenn?
Oh man, he might have been.
I believe so.
So
DK,
long
if you want to
ago,
do some digging on that, I'm pretty sure. I didn't mean to cut you off there, Jason.
I was in
but
it's all good.
It would be coincidental that's how.
So is he definitely going to be drafted by someone this year?
Oh yeah, I would. If he's not in the 3rd, certainly the 4th. I think once you get out of that top 100, he could go in the top 100. I hope that he doesn't because I didn't put him in there. But
wow,
I think in the mock draft I did, but in my final top 100, I don't anticipate having him in there because I think it's still a little rich. I mean, I kind of called that because I was like the highest drafted punter most recently was Michael Dixon, who went to the Seahawks, and he had really good grade coming out too. Because you have to think about for the punting, it's not just having the big leg. I think every punter in the league probably has a big leg, but you got to be able to directional punt. You got to be able to place the ball. I think you can do that. Obviously, the thing that's going to get the most attention is the guy booming at 80 yards, not just once, but like in the air, like a handful of times over the course of the season. So
the guy catching is going to grow a beard before the ball comes down.
Yeah. But you look at that, and sometimes the special teams coaches don't like it because you're out kicking the coverage. But, if you're getting a lot of, 3 and outs, hopefully not for the Ravens, but I mean, it's nice to have a weapon like that, if he can, do a little bit more touch punting and not just booming it out the stadium every time. But I think it's a reasonable pick. I think they're right sitting at 100.
That's it. Yeah, 6th round, 203. Sounds like a comp pick. But either way,
I think based on the math, it's probably, if it's not there, it's right around comp pick territory.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So that's definitely going to be interesting. And look, Glenn, I guess at the end of the day, no coach, I don't think puts as much stock in special teams and can utilize a special teams player like that as much as one John Harbaugh, right? So
that would be interesting. Coach from the beginning.
That's right. But I also, while you're here, we want to do a few more things, Jason. We want to review the cornerback position group because we think that's one that we missed last time and when we want to talk to you about. But we also want to reveal. So we'll do that, and then we'll reveal to you our first 3-round pick, 3-round draft. Glenn has one. I have one. And then we'll have you grade it.
Yeah.
But before we do all that, I just want to make a quick announcement I'm really excited about. As you guys know, if you follow the channel, we're piece by piece, right, Glenn? We're getting in the studio. We're setting it up. We're getting a few sets set up so we can kind of change it up. We can bring in guests. It can be really cool. And more than anything, we want it to be as enjoyable of an experience as we can for all of you that are, faithful 410 Sports Talk viewers and patrons and participators in the show. So one of the things we're going to do with the set that we are arranging is one wall is going to be left blank. Now, we might put a few things over it, but the wall in itself is just going to be white. And for all the folks who submit a super chat from here on out, their name will be written on the wall. So you guys and for all time and eternity, for as long as we are a show in existence, you will be a part of the show. Your name will be up on the wall. So any of you guys that throw in a super chat, your name will be up on the wall. Feel free to do so. It's obviously not a requirement, but look, if you want to see your name on the wall every single time you watch 410 Sports Talk,
that's it.
Have at it. So I think it's going to be a lot of fun and just another way to interact with you guys. But Glenn, I think we should start with the cornerback, like we said, before we get to the 3rd round mock. So Jason, I think a good place to start would be last time we kind of talked about the cornerback room, if you will, like this draft from a cornerback perspective, a brief analysis of it. And then really what we want to get to is whether or not we think the Ravens will have a swing at a 1A guy, right? Based on the depth of this position group in this draft. And if there's a value pick there at 14. So how do you view this position group cornerback in this draft?
I think really good at the top. You have Sauce, who I think if he gets out of the 3, 4, 5 range, I think I just really don't see that happening. I think between Houston, the Jets, and the Giants. I mean, he could go to the Giants at 7 if it goes there. That's where I'm looking at him to go. So I don't think he's within reach unless you want to trade up. Stingley is another one that I think the LSU corner. So everybody was really high on him after the freshman year when they won the national championship. He's had an up and down road since then, but I think he's firmly in that top 10 conversation. I think his floor is going to be either 12 to the Vikings or 13 to the Texans. And then after that, the last kind of like straight 1st round grade I have is Trent McDuffie, who's a little bit smaller. He's probably who you would probably look at 14. I don't know that if the Ravens have their size benchmarks for cornerbacks, he's a little bit smaller, a little bit shorter in terms of the arm length. But really feisty player, and I think he's certainly in that 1st round conversation, definitely top 20, if not right there in the top 24, top 25. After that, it gets a little dicey because I'm not sure if there's another 1st round corner. I would expect that there would be just based on history, and I think that's where you look at Andrew Booth Jr., who's had some medical issues over the the draft process. He had sports hernia surgery, so you hope that he's ready to go. Kyer Elam is kind of the big corner, the body beautiful, as Mike Mayock used to say, and I think he has some fans as well. And then you look at like Kyler Gordon, who's McDuffie's teammate at Washington. I think that's the guys that you could expect to be in that first round mix there as you get in the back half of the first round. After that, you got kind of the long and short of it, literally, with I think Tariq Woolen, who's the UTSA corner, who's like 6'4" and ran the the 4.3 40 at the combine. And he's definitely more of a raw toolsy prospect, was a receiver up until like 2 years ago. And then Roger McCreary from Auburn, who I think he had the shortest arms of everyone at the combine, but he's a really sticky cover corner as well. So, I mean, I think those guys get into that second round range. Those could be some options there for the Ravens. After that, you look at Kobe Bryant, who not to be confused with Kobe Bryant, as in the Kobe Bryant, but he has the same name, just spelled different. Is from Cincinnati as well. I think he was the Jim Thorpe Award winner over Sauce, but he was his teammate on the opposite side. I think he's in kind of that 2-3 range, along with Cam Taylor-Britt, who has he's a little bit more physical, not as big, but certainly a physical corner. I think he's also in that top 100 mix. Marcus Jones is kind of the small guy who can return as well. I like him a lot, but he didn't really participate in the draft process. He had shoulder surgery on both. So I think he's a top 100 player, but he could be somebody that could slip into
5'8".
3. Yeah,
little guy.
Yeah.
And is that a legit 5'8", or are we talking 5'7"?
That's I'll pull up the board here where I've got all of the heights and weight. No, that's a legit 5080. So he's right there.
Okay. So you like him because Dre Mason was curious about Marcus. Okay.
Yeah, I like him a lot. I just think that he might be a budget pick if he doesn't go in the top 100. He's probably going to be a slot only, but he brings return value. He plays a lot bigger than he is, which is the good thing. But he's probably not an outside corner.
Okay. Well, look, we tend to. It looks like we kind of need more of the slot corner, and of course having the versatility of being a punt and kick returner. In the event that something were to happen to the Ravens All-Pro Duvernay would be nice to have.
And I think the Ravens are one of the teams that care the least about what school you went to and your physical makeup, in that they care about it, but I don't think there's rigid. I mean, look at oh my gosh, how am I missing on it? Geno Stone.
Yeah.
Who had the negative
length. The guy's making plays.
Right.
Yeah, I like Geno Stone when he came out. And I think did he go undrafted? I don't recall, but I had him like
he went
guy
like
would have targeted on day 3. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I think he bounced around like was he drafted by the Ravens?
Yeah, I believe so. In the 7th round, it's either the 6th or 7th round.
Confused with somebody else. I mean, those Iowa DBs kind of
pop
out.
And even the kid that went undrafted out of TCU.
Oh, Ardarius.
Ardarius Washington made some plays in preseason. Didn't get too much play in the and then he tore the Achilles. But that'll be interesting. Shout out to Dre Mason as well. Name's going up on the wall, my man, in infamy now and forever.
And then next, one here. Social Ravens got to get a name up there. It said with so many holes to fix, why not trade our future first round picks to get first round picks this year? Imagine we could do with Lloyd, Davis, and Jermaine Johnson, or even Burks. Well, that's certainly a lot to invest. And man, I just can't imagine the Ravens giving up a first round pick next season.
Now, I just don't think it's in Eric's makeup.
Yeah, I can't imagine, because he said how hard it was for him to sit around. What was it, that second round?
Yeah.
The year that he took Lamar, and how he was just he never wants to be in a position where he's sitting through an entire round, especially top end of the draft round again. So I'd be surprised to see that. But did you put any trades at all in your mocks yet to this point?
No, not in the 1.0 in the super mock, the 7 round. I never do that. I tend to do that in the final if I can find a place for it, because always that one's the one to get scored. So you hope that you're right. So you take some gambles, and sometimes they pay off, like they did a couple of years ago, and last year they did not. So it's a risk. But I mean, if you see a fit for it, I mean, it's possible. To Social Ravens question, I think it's usually harder unless you have a specific player you're coming after, it's hard to pull that off without like knowing that your guy is going to be there and knowing who it is and knowing that you are going to be able to draft him. This is probably not the draft to do that, unless you wanted to get, because I think the difficulty with the first round is usually you have to package your current year and then a future year. Yeah. So you couldn't say, hey, I want to take this first round from next year, unless you were jumping back up into, like, say, the first round coming up from the second, and then you could maybe swap picks to a degree for the next year. But you couldn't, like, if I wanted to get the Ravens to take, let's say, the Jets pick at 10, I couldn't just say, hey, will you take our first from next year? You'd have to package something else with that from this year as well as that. I mean, it's a good approach. You can always get on the phone and call, but I mean, usually you're going to have to overpay as well. So that's why you don't see it as.
He's got a rebuttal here for us. You can trade your 2 future first round picks and Tyus Bowser for Philly's 2 first round picks. So the statement in and of itself is true, right? Like, you can do that. That is absolutely true. However, and look, this is what I would say about this.
Oh, there you go.
I'll fill in, because Philly, that's what kind of in a way they did with New Orleans. They they took New Orleans pick from next year and gave them one of the 3 first rounders they have. They didn't really move anything. I think they swapped 18 and 19 between the two, but they were willing to do that. But you can do that when you got 2 firsts, and next year you may be looking for a new quarterback. Yeah, I mean, that's the prevailing logic of why they did it. Yeah, and
and plus, also, when you're taking on multiple first-round picks, you got to remember the Ravens have done that a lot recently. And then if you decide that you want to, you got to pick up not only a very expensive 5th-year option now on 2 guys in every year, and they did that. Recently when they drafted, or they're going to have to do that when they just drafted
Bateman and
Odafe and Bateman, and now they'd have to do it another year where they're picking up 2 5th-year options.
The only way they got out of that one was because that with Lamar is because Hurst was traded.
Exactly. So that's also another tough thing. If you want to pay multiple first-round picks on that 5th-year option, while you're also going to be paying Lamar at that point, well, at least.
And let's be honest, like, first-round picks, production is production. Like, production will be paid, but first-round picks expect to be paid. I think a little bit different than a kid that was drafted in the 7th round, even if he does, outplay his contract, right? Like, there's a difference between the way that
expectations change, no doubt.
Absolutely. I mean, look at Marquise Brown is a perfect example, right? Like, I think that Marquise wants to be paid like a first-round wide receiver who's done well on his first rookie deal, and maybe some other people don't. But certainly, I know this for a fact, Social Raven, Eric DaCosta will do everything he possibly can to put them in the good. He will get it. Eric's not afraid to get creative. He's not rigid in his thinking. We've seen that, so we're excited for that. But keep them coming. Love the questions. All right. So should we get to it, Glenn? Oh, this is my last question about the corners real quick, Jason. So you kind of gave an overview, but ultimately this is my question. Do you think that a guy, that a value pick for the Ravens will be there at 14, or would you say
I see McDuffie's out there a lot.
Right.
Yeah. McDuffie will be the one. I wouldn't consider that a value pick, though. I think that's somebody that's his range.
Okay. Do you like it though at 14? What kind of grade would you give that at 14?
That's a solid pick for 14. I mean, like I said, I think his range is kind of the 14 to 24-ish. Like, he's kind of that middle range pick that you would like. I think in both of my mocks, I had him at 21 to the Patriots. Gotcha. I think I've heard what I've read is that Philadelphia is interested in him and probably at 15. So if you don't take him there, that's probably where he goes. If he goes a little bit further, I think I had him going to the Patriots.
Slot guy or an outside guy?
He can play outside. I mean, I don't know that everybody will put him there because of the size and the arm length, but I think he's an outside corner. And I think he's a day one starter. So if you got him there. If you were to take another corner, like I said, I think Sauce and Stingley are the only 2 that are kind of in that top 10 territory. Okay. If you were to take another one there, I would call that a little bit of a reach.
Okay. No, good to know. All right, Jason.
Yeah, let's get into it. Me and Jimbo are still in the process of coming up with a wager here, but we would love to have you grade a quick little mock. We're gonna run through our own simulation on the PFF mock simulator.
Yeah.
See who's on the clock when our time comes, and then we will make our selection. But we want you to grade it and tell us if that's a good selection or a bad selection. So I've already done mine. I did
mine as well.
Yeah, I did mine a little while back. So I have the results up on the big screen here. But yeah.
One question.
Yeah.
One question before we get started. Are you able to see the full results or just what you did? I don't know. I
think you can see the full results.
Okay, because I just want to make sure like who else we had available if I
chance think I don't know if you can, Glenn.
Because I know a lot of them will show the whole 7 rounds. I
full
spent a whole lot
results. Yeah, you can.
On the Okay. Perfect.
Yeah, let's make sure we
can go to your results and full results. If you got the page up, Glenn, and if you need some time, I can.
Go ahead. No, I'm ready.
Some time, all right, cool. So I just want to say this off the top. In the first two rounds, the Baltimore Ravens are going offense in round 1 and round 2.
Hold on.
That's right.
They're
going offense round 1, round 2. Yep. Now, it's not the sexy picks on offense, but it is technically offense. Okay, Jason, for those of you who don't know, I just had a lot of time to meditate in the car. I just drove from one coast to the other, and I was really thinking about this first round pick for a long time. And everyone started out hot out the gates, at center with our guy, Tyler Linderbaum, right? And then everyone started to cool off, not just you, not just us, just the general media as a whole. And then at the Liars Luncheon, Eric DaCosta said, we want big offensive linemen. So I called up Glenn and I said, Linderbaum's off the board, right? Yep. But then I started thinking about a few things on this drive. I thought Jason Pruitt's initial thought was, I believe, 6th overall on his board. 6th as a center. Eric DaCosta and the rest of the Ravens staff seem to fib and mislead at these meetings, right? And center is an absolute bona fide position of need. Our current guy plugged in at center caused Lamar Jackson to get a concussion because he didn't know how to snap the ball in a playoff game, period, right? So with all that being said, our most important asset, our most expensive asset is Lamar Jackson. Why not take the highest value pick you have in this draft and get a guy that can get the job done? Now, I just want to say a couple other things, and I won't wax poetically too much longer. But a lot of people are worried about his size. Some people are worried about his fit. I'm not worried about his size. I believe that his history, we talked about being a multi-sport guy, being a wrestler that had very few losses in a very difficult stage wrestling in Iowa. His hips, leverage, strength, all those give him the ability to play even a little lighter and still move guys bigger than him. I guarantee you his leverage is top-notch, second to none. So I feel really safe and good about this pick, and my blood pressure would go down significantly if they took him at with their 14th pick. So I'm going Linderbaum, center, Iowa, Tyler Linderbaum, Baltimore Ravens. Bye-bye.
Wow. Okay. Well, that shocks me. So you're thinking
I came all the way full circle, my man.
Yeah, because you're saying that he's going full misdirection mode here.
Yep.
Wow. Okay. All right. Well, Jason, what's your thoughts on if the Ravens were to do that at 14?
Well, okay. Yeah, we can do that.
I think that's an A. I mean, I think he's a first round talent. I have had to bump him down because I think his range is shifted, right? Like I think he's, mid to late first round. But you're right there. If you're okay with the physical tools, what he brings to the table there, the talent's certainly there, the play is certainly there, and I think that you sit here and plug him in, he's in there for 10 to 12 years. So I mean, I think that's an A grade for Mr. James there.
Man, nice. You're being awfully kind. No,
I like Linderbaum.
I think he's a good player.
I have to adjust based on. Remember, we talked about this. Like, I'm not trying to predict, future success. I'm trying to predict where guys are drafted. So that's why I've had to bump him down. I mean, I had to put him into that 1-2 because I could see a position where, he slips to the second round, that top of the second round. I had him going at 33 to Jacksonville because I couldn't find a space for him. Because I think once you get past the Ravens, I don't know who's going to draft him because I think the other teams that need a center, Cincinnati may not go that direction. They have at least a Band-Aid there with Ted Karras. Miami, I think, could use one. They don't pick until like 102. So I think they're maybe hunting for a center there in that third round comp pick range.
Do you have your results up, Jimbo? Let me ask you something. Because okay, good. Because I'm going to tell you who I'm picking, who the Ravens are picking at 14, if this guy's available. And I want to know if he was available in your board. Because I'll tell you this, Linderbaum was available, okay, on my board. He's projected to go 26th on my board. He ain't going at 14. I tell you who's going at 14. That's Jermaine Johnson. That's the ACC Defensive Player of the Year.
He wasn't available on my board.
You know what's crazy? Every one I've done, he's been on my board.
I apologize. He was available. He went at 23 to the Arizona Cardinals. Yeah,
man, I'm gonna have to dock you for an A- because I love Jermaine Johnson.
That's fine.
Yes, I'll take it. Yeah,
that's an A+. Of the two, like I'd have to take Jermaine Johnson. I don't know why. I got him at that fourth edge rusher. But I like him a whole lot more than most people do. I saw a guy that was like the way he uses his hands, like that's expert level stuff for a guy that's coming out in the draft.
Well, he's been in college for 8 years, so
Jimmy, he was 24 years behind some studs at Georgia. Okay,
he's 24 years old playing against 18-year-olds. That's like
now he's 24.
They still got baby.
That's a heck of a roundup you did there, Jim.
Well, that's good because he's ready out of the gate. Once he gets in the league, he doesn't need to, go into the training room.
He's playing against pro level guys that aren't 18-year-olds.
Look at Jimmy getting offensive.
No, but I like the pick as well. Everyone was kind of trashing me in the comments, and all I'm gonna say is that when McCary is throwing the ball over Lamar's head, don't come at me, bro. Don't. And all you guys are complaining and whining.
You got an A-, Jimbo. That's good. It's just not A+.
That is good. That is
good. That's why I
said pick two, Glenn. I like to pick two. I would be happy with that one too.
The context matters, right? Because it's who's on the board and who did you pass on.
You're right. 100%.
I still like the Linderbaum pick, but I mean, if Jermaine Johnson's there, I have to go that way every time.
Yeah, I look at him as being the more immediate need, but also let's be honest, Jermaine Johnson's likelihood of being at 14 is a lot lower than Linderbaum's. So I mean, I will grant you that mine is the more unrealistic of the two. But I'll start us off in the second round, and I got to know, you're obviously far more of an expert on this draft and all these prospects than I am. So, a lot of what I'm saying is going off of others' evaluation of these players. So, I kind of preface it by saying that. Now, I look at the fact that the Ravens need cornerback depth in a big, big way. And I think that all the top guys at corner will be gone before the Ravens pick at 45, and obviously some of those big guys, that a lot of people are linking like Booth and all. I think those guys will be long gone by the time the Ravens are picking again at 45. But one guy who has a shot at being there is a guy that I picked him, and then I went to your list to look for him to see where he ranked on your list, Jason. And you didn't even have him at the position that I'm taking him at, which is really crazy, and it's hurting my feelings a little bit, and it make me sound a little silly here. But I went to Baylor, okay, to look for some cornerback depth, okay, in the nickel position. I like, and I hope I'm saying this right. Is it Jalen Pitre? Pitre, as a more of a a guy that can do a lot of different things, but slot corner I think is one of them. I love the change of direction that he has, and I think he's a guy that in the second round would make a lot of sense for the Ravens. But I'm anxious to get your thoughts.
Range is good. Yeah, he's not a corner. He'll do some duty at corner, like in certain packages, like cover the slot, maybe a little bit of overhang. So yeah, I think which sim was this? Is this Pro Football Focus or?
Yeah, it's interesting because Pro Football Focus says that he's a difference maker in the slot, and then it would be silly to not play him there with regularity.
Yeah, so if you look at him as like a nickel, basically, I mean, I think that's a viable position, but like he shouldn't really be classified as a corner. I could see maybe DB, but I mean he's a safety, but he's a Swiss Army knife back there. So I mean he can play the run, he can cover, he can blitz a little bit. So, I mean, I think that's a good versatile pick. If you're looking at, depth from that position, if you're not looking to fill a need at outside corner, yeah, by all means. In that range, I think is right on. I think I have him in my top 100 at 48. So he's right there. So depending on your flavor, that's a good range for him. So that's a solid A. I mean, again, you got to qualify the need there, but I mean, for the player you're getting, I'm happy with that.
Okay. All right, Jimbo. Oh, we can't hear you, Jimbo. You're muted.
I'm always muted.
What are you doing, dude?
I know.
Always muted for, man.
I'm not used to using this old mic. I'm going old school here.
That's right. Throwback.
Yeah. So, all right. I like that pick, Glenn. I like it a lot. I think the versatility.
I mean, I'm not sure how much longer Chuck Clark is here either.
Right. It could be an interesting move for the Ravens. The versatility there, certainly. So I mentioned the Ravens are going wide receiver with their first 2 picks. And I'm staying on the O-line. That is a name that we have not talked about a lot. However, I want to preface my statements by saying this. We talked about tackle, right? A lot. We've also talked about the question mark at left guard. A lot, right? Not as much as tackle, but we've certainly talked about it. So I went down to, actually just drove through here, best highways in the United States, Tulsa, Oklahoma. I went to Tyler Smith. I like this kid. He's big. He's physical. This is my favorite part about his description in here, Jason and Glenn. His run blocking tape is a sight to behold. It's a sight to behold. Like,
okay.
So out of, you see the 2 names up there that are locks for the first round. He had a higher grade in big time blocks in comparison to them. And then on top of that, I like the idea of, once again, let's just stop with the question marks and shore up a hole. So if Ronnie comes back, fine, play this kid at left guard, and you shore up a hole in comparison to the walking concussion that is Ben Cleveland, right? Like, poor Ben forgot how to spell his last name. I'm starting to get concerned.
Come on, man.
I'm
Don't be so hard on Big Ben, man.
I hope he comes out there, but I'm done with the question marks. I'm done because we don't have time to mess around with question marks. We need guys that can get in there and get the job done, because Bryant McKinney said it best, right? You got the Lamborghini. Now you need to pay for the insurance, period, right? So I like this kid. He's tough. He's nasty. He's strong. He's a run blocker, which that's job number 1 if you're a Baltimore Ravens offensive lineman. And he's got some versatility. So whether that's him playing left guard in the near future, whether that's him permanently playing right guard after Zeitler is gone, right? Who's really only got 1 more year here at the end of the day and is on the wrong side of 30. Or if Ronnie never makes an appearance in the Baltimore Ravens jersey, or something catastrophic happens there again, you have at least another guy you can put into the rotation and give an opportunity to play there. So I like this kid for what he does primarily, in being a run blocker, and his versatility. I think he's a solid pick for the Baltimore Ravens there.
Yeah, I would agree. And I liked Ben Cleveland coming out.
I still like Ben
disappointing.
I like him too. I was so excited about that pick. But man, he can't get on the field.
Giant country boy, like moving, people around, and I hate to see that hasn't worked out. Tyler Smith could work out. I think this is an A pick. I think he, that's going to be like, he's gotten a little bit of kind of late first round buzz, but I think he's a little too raw that, to think that he would come in and start right away at tackle. I think he could do that at guard. He's going to need some coaching up though. He's pretty nasty, but his technique is kind of all over the place. I mean, you'll see him, with his, when he comes out of his set, his hands are like at his, like he's ready to put his hands in his pockets, really low hands. So like, he's going to have to learn to get those hands up when he's coming out of his stance. But the tools, man, he probably has the best tools of anybody out of that, that top group. So I think, over somebody like Bernard Raymond, who's like, a good developmental player as well. But I think Tyler Smith, that's where I would probably put my eggs in that basket once you get kind of that mid-second round. Yeah, if he's on the board, go ahead and do it.
Wow. Okay. Now, do you project him to have ability to play at tackle if he was needed to?
He could, but it might be a little bit of a rough go until, like I said, some of these players need seasoning. I think he does. I wouldn't, in an emergency situation, plug him in at tackle. If he was to be your backup, if Ronnie Stanley can't go, you might have to worry a little bit about the flags. You might have to worry a little bit about him trying to make up for some of the aggression, getting caught off balance. But I mean, I listened to a good review of him by Mel Kiper this week. That like everything that he does that's not there yet is correctable. So it's not bad habits. It's just he needs to learn how to be a little bit more polished. And if you coach him up, I think he has the potential to be a good player for a long time.
Okay. All right.
Like
well,
it.
I like hearing that because we definitely need some help at tackle if need be.
Yes.
All right. So the next one, I'm not going to spend a ton of time on because I think that I know how Jason feels because he already has him mocked to the Ravens in his second round, but I got him in the third round. So maybe I get a little bit of a better grade in Fedorian Mathis. I got him in the third round. Surprising. Are you surprised to hear that he would be available in the third round?
Not necessarily. I mean, you look at the defensive tackles. Even when we came into this process, the idea was like you could see Jordan Davis, you could see Devontae Wyatt going at the end of the first round. So as you see how that position stretches, I mean, there's a lot of good edge rushers. There's a lot of good corners. There's always a good bunch of wide receivers. So it's not out of the realm of possibility. Like the pick is what, 76?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's certainly realistic. So I mean, I wouldn't hate it if that were happen. Like I think I've got him at like in the 50s of my top 100. So that's certainly feasible that he could be there. So yeah, that's a good A pick as well. I won't give you an A+ because I do have him graded higher, and I think I'd have to see. I think he's gone, but it's like it's possible for him to be there. I'd have to look at that PFF board and see. I'm sure I have some disagreements with it.
I'm
but
sure.
Hey,
I'm sure.
Everybody sees what they see. I won't dump on it because everybody has a different view of things, and they don't approach it, I'm sure, the same way that I do. They also don't have a mock draft scoring champion.
Oh, I love it.
That I'm aware of. I don't know. That I'm aware of. I don't know.
No, I seriously doubt it.
I know.
Once again,
if I looked at my top 100 board from last year, I know I ranked higher than I did.
Ooh, shots fired. Yeah, at the end of the day, they left Lamar Jackson out of the top 50 under 25 years old. So that's ridiculous. Top 50, Jason. He should be number one. Top 50 under 25 years old. All right.
Still under 25.
Well, he just turned 25, didn't he? I think he did.
Yeah.
But
when the list came out, he was
24.
Yes.
And he wasn't even on the list. And then the guy that published it, I reached out to him and said he would come on the show, and then he bailed the last minute. So yeah. No
can't defend it then.
That's right. So all right. Last pick in the third round that I got for the Baltimore Ravens. Glenn, you addressed corner in second. I'm addressing corner in the third. I got some questions about this kid, but he's a third rounder. I like some of the things about him. Still have some questions about him. So interested more than anything to get your take, Jason. But I read some things and saw a few things on my buddy Cam Taylor-Britt, cornerback out of Nebraska, who I think has some improvements to make. But I like his physicality. I also like that he could fit from a man coverage assignment. He's relatively sure in his assignments, it seems like. So I like that about him as well. I mean, the metrics are what they're on the screen. He's not a 6'4", 6'3" type guy, but the fact that he can stick to guys decently well. He has his assignments, his reads seem to be well, and he's really physical. I think it's a great place for the Ravens to start. So I'm taking him in the third round because we need a solid guy in the rotation anyway. So we need to address the position. I like him here, and this is the pick I'm taking.
Yeah, that's a good range for him. I mean, he has good size. Like you said, he's physical, covers well. I think that range there kind of into that late or mid to late third round is probably where he's going to go. If he were to get there into the fourth, he wouldn't be there very long. So, I mean, I think that's a solid pick. We'll give you another A for that. We're drafting well, guys. We're drafting well.
Man, I really was hoping you would come in here and just lay the hammer on one of us. I think that would be hilarious. But maybe this is the time because, again, admittedly, I don't know a ton about some of these later round guys. So again, I'm going off of the judgment of PFF, the Football Network, CBS, and ESPN. So I'm kind of taking all that information and, gaining my my knowledge from them. So I'm going to go with, in my last and final pick in this mock, I'm also going to address the center position, Jimbo, because I think that is a position that I think that McCary is there, but I don't know if they really want to hand him the job. They're saying that. I think they're just as scared as him throwing the ball over Lamar's head as me and you are. That's a very real fear for both of us. So I'm going to try and address the center position. Now, admittedly, I had to steer clear of Luke Fortner because I couldn't have two guys on the same. So I had to scratch him off of my potential list because I can't just copy Jason's and then try and claim it as my own. That would be
sounds like something you would do though, Glenn.
If this was a bet, I would have probably do that. But I'm gonna go with Donovan West out of Arizona State, 6'4", 300-pounder, junior. Man, and honestly, this is something the Ravens will not want to do, and it's something I am going to, and that's draft for a position of need. Because I'm like you, Jimbo. I'm scared to death if I see McCary as the permanent center. Now, he could end up being the best option because I think you talk about getting the best 5 on the field, he's one of the best 5. But, man, I don't want him at center, not after what we saw from him in the past. So I'm going to go Donovan West here in an effort to get some positional versatility as well as get some a center in the building who I think can properly snap the ball. So, Jason, what's your thoughts on Donovan West? Is he too small?
No. I mean, you drafted a center.
Okay, they're all small.
That's my.
Hold on, you were awfully hype about Linderbaum.
I'm not a fan of Donovan West, to be honest.
Okay.
I think I have him as a 4 to 6. So he's, if he were to go in the top 100, that would be a mild shock to me. I see him as more of a 5th round type guy.
Okay.
But you need a center.
Now, I saw you like Luke Fortner.
You had the caveat of Luke Fortner. You weren't going to pick him because I picked him. You should have anyway.
It's cheating, though. Jason. So tell me about Luke Fortner. What makes you like him out of Kentucky?
I think he's just a solid, like, plug-and-play center. I mean, I think he's the type that you typically see go, late on day 2, early on day 3, kind of nondescript. He's not the guy that's going to get all the attention. Not that center does, but I mean, obviously you have 1 or 2 guys every year, but then you have a couple other guys that come in there. They're workmen. They do their job, and I think he's actually pretty talented for that. Not going to wow you with anything. Just a really solid player who's played against a lot of good competition over the years. Being in Kentucky, being in the SEC. He's played against that Georgia defense as well, as anybody else, Alabama. So, I mean, he's somebody that's just really solid. And I think, you'd have a day 1 starter there. I can't say the same for Donovan West. I'm not really sure what his projection is going to be. A team may put him in and he struggles. He may pop in and be perfectly fine. I don't know. I didn't see that much there. I felt like he was a little bit of a bad body guy. So, I mean, you may need to shape him up a little bit. Sure, he could come in and snap the ball, and I know he does have fans. I just not necessarily one of them.
Yeah, gotcha. Okay, all right.
Well, I like your want to create your own draft there, Glenn. So you get some extra points for that. Well, that was probably the worst pick of the 6, but you get some points for that.
Glenn, we'll grade you pass fail. You
on
pass.
a curve
Because you drafted a center. You feel the need.
There we go.
So no letter grade, just pass fail. We like it. We like it.
Well, that's all you can do with kind of once you get into that, out of the that was right at 100 though, right? So I mean, we hope that we can still get good players, but you had a couple caveats there.
It's right on the cusp. And I will say, what's funny is that PFF gave me a better grade for Donovan West at 100 than they gave me for Fedarian Mathis at 76.
Really?
So it just shows. What's that?
What is their ranking on him? Is he top 100 for them?
He's number 82 on their big board.
Okay, fair enough.
Well, that's okay.
And they got Fedarian at 107.
I got a C- for Linderbaum.
Yeah, that's probably about right. They probably have him a little bit later.
My highest rated was Jalen Petrie, as he got an A+. But I got
an A-.
He reminds me, who was the safety who was it Jermaine Johnson? Who was it that was set? Every mock we did last year, there was a safety. I think it was out of Tennessee.
Oh, it was Morig, I felt like.
Oh, no, it was the Indiana safety. Who was the safety?
Jamar Johnson?
Yes, Jamar Johnson.
Oh, I love Jamar Johnson too, but I don't think he did much this past year for Denver.
No, but he was one of those guys that every mock I did, he was available in the second round and a huge value. And the same was with Jalen Petrie. He was available every one I did and had massive positional value.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, all right. Well, I mean, look, the good thing is I can change my pick, okay? Because I'm not betting anything on Mr. Donovan West after what I heard from you, Jason Pruitt. I don't care what PFF has.
Well, who did you pass on? Just give me the next handful of guys that you might have considered there. Not a center. It could have been anything. We kind of got away from this after the first round pick, so just looking for context.
Yeah, where is the? Oh, yeah, there it goes. Full results. Okay. Yeah, just so. Because I know, Jimmy's loving seeing that I'm getting, kind of killed a little bit here. Okay. So, an edge, is it Sanders out of Cincinnati?
Myjai Sanders, yeah.
David Bell out of Purdue, the receiver. Zion McCollum, the cornerback out of Sam Houston State. And a tackle, Zach Tom, Wake Forest.
Now, Zach Tom, I liked better as a center. He played center, and I have him over Donovan West. So if you went one way or the other, he's a little bit more finesse, though. I mean, he's a little bit light. So, I mean, depending on what your desire is, I mean.
I'm so good. But, Jason.
Yeah.
On your website, you have Donovan West higher than Zach Tom. So now I don't know what to believe.
Yeah, what's our source of truth?
You talk about the mock draft, or are you talking about
positional ranking? Positional ranking.
No, I just published the new one today or last night.
Maybe
I've got Zach Tom at 6 for center, and I've got Donovan West at 7.
I'm looking at an outdated book. Son of a gun.
We're gonna have to bring you back, Jason, one more time before the draft, because we got to pull the ripcord on this bad boy.
Yeah.
But we had an absolute blast tonight.
Jason, you lie, Glenn. You lie.
You lie.
Not even in a 2 did I haven't been a Donovan.
Can you see it?
Yeah, Zach. Wait.
You see this? This is your spreadsheet.
What is that? Was that the 1.0 before?
I don't know. I clicked on the wrong one. Clearly, okay.
Yeah, come on, my guy. That's before I got a little bit deeper into the tape and saw him kind of.
But I didn't lie. I may be wrong, but I did not lie, Jason.
Yeah, February 28th. You're correct.
As of February 28th. That's awesome. Well, listen, Jason, we're gonna bring you back one more time once we do our final full 7.
Yes.
Get your thoughts on it, if that's okay with you, of course.
We'll try. I've got some unique circumstances over the next week.
True.
I won't even be in the country for draft week, so I got to be reckless and finish this all this week, and then hope Baker Mayfield doesn't get traded to the Panthers.
Yep, absolutely. But thank you guys all for the time tonight. Thanks for coming out, Jason. Thank you so much. All of you guys that participated, thank you. As always. Shout out to all you guys. Super chats will go up on the wall. They are recorded. Dre Mason, Social Raven. Make sure you guys keep putting those in, and we'll build out the wall in the set there. But all right, guys, we'll talk to you soon. Have a great night.
See you.